What's up, Misfits? I just watched the very first episode of Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, and I absolutely loved it. I wanted to make a quick little review of the first episode for you guys, just to share what I thought of it and how much I liked it and some of the things that I thought they could have done better. So there will be a few spoilers from here on out, so if you haven't watched the episode, you might want to go watch it and then come back. First of all, obsessed. It was fantastic. So good. But to be fair, I am the target audience. Like, literally, I have never related to a character more in my entire life than I have related to Kamala Khan. I mean, she's a YouTuber. I'm a YouTuber. She is a Muslim girl who grew up in just your average American high school where nobody really knew anything about her culture or her religion. Except she had another Muslim friend at school. I didn't. I was all alone, so. She grew up in a household with strict immigrant parents. It was partially true for me. I had one immigrant parent, and it wasn't always strict. It was half and half, so kind of relatable there. One of the scenes when she was wearing her necklace to school, and the girl was like, "Oh, I like your necklace," and she's like, "It's my name in Arabic." I have one. This is my name in Arabic, and I would wear it out. I wear it to work sometimes too, and people are like, "What does your necklace say?" It's my name. Nadia in Arabic. What else? And she's completely obsessed with the Avengers! Myself included! I love to live in fantasy worlds. I go to the cinema once a week so I can escape the reality that is my life. It's not that bad of a life, but I do need to escape it every now and then. So we just have so much in common. It's awesome. I really wish I had this character when I was a teenager so I could have somebody else to look to and feel like, you know, you're not quite as alone. I was not as rebellious as she is, though. The editing is phenomenal. It is my absolute favorite type of editing for videos. They threw in a couple of those quick cuts that like Edgar Wright does, my favorite director, so it had that going for it. Just the absolute amazing transitions when they would go from the photo frame to her and when she would like fall down in her bed and the camera angles there. Can't express enough how much this show fits my personality so well. It's my absolute favorite type of filmmaking. It's like a safe little world where being Muslim isn't a bad thing and it's just super normal and they're throwing Islamic phrases everywhere and nobody draws attention to her or anything because it's super normal. Like, you don't understand. We don't get that. We don't get shows where they're just like, "Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam." That just doesn't happen. I mean, unless you're watching, like, obviously foreign shows, but like American or Western shows, we don't get that very much. So it's really cool to hear that. And then not only that, they're joking with the culture and the religion, and I love it. Like when he was making fun of her for not wanting to be in the dark because of the jinn. And whenever she said Bismillah before she went to take her driver's test, and he was like, "Bless you." I laughed so hard. I rarely ever speak in Arabic out loud to like Americans around here because that would be the response. And I just thought that was so funny. I loved it. It's exactly what I had hoped for. The character relationships and dynamics are fantastic. Her and her best friend Bruno, the geeky little sidekick. It reminds me a lot of the relationships in TV shows that I would watch when I was a kid. The duo that they remind me of a lot while I was watching this is Lizzie and Gordo from the Lizzie McGuire show. I don't know, like they just kind of have that goofy little best friend dynamic thing going. And it's so cute. Another thing that really stood out to me, and I kept mentioning it, my brother's like, "I don't know what you're talking about," but does anybody else get Haley Steinfeld vibes from her? There were so many moments when she would do these like little facial expressions or make these mannerisms, and I was like, she looks exactly like Haley Steinfeld when she was in Hawkeye. Am I crazy? But like, I swear, if I can find the exact moments, I'll put them in here, but I was like, she looks so much like her. It's insane. I forgot to mention when I was talking about all the amazing transitions and graphics, that texting scene when they were using all the screens and like everything in the street as part of the text instead of doing the standard little text bubbles. Amazing. I love it. It's so creative. I assume Brie Larson will pop in as Captain Marvel at some point. Maybe, possibly. That'd be really cool if they get to meet up. Oh, it would just make her little day. This was just incredible representation that I have not seen before now, at least in the Western media and the stuff that I've grown up watching. So it just means so much. All the negative stuff and all the positive stuff, it was all there. Like whenever her friend Bruno went to the house and her mom was like, "I'm gonna give you food," and he's like, "No, I don't need any," and she's like, "Yeah, no, you're getting food." Every aunt's house I've gone to, all my friends, their mom's houses, 100% correct. You walk out with so much food, it's wonderful. But then the negative stuff too, like wanting to cosplay and being obsessed with the Avengers and living in your little fantasy world and that being seen as super weird. Yeah, it is. I tend to not show my geeky side when I'm in Jordan as much as when I'm in the United States because it is considered super weird and just not normal. I'm not normal, which is fine. Nobody should be normal. No one is normal. But that part resonated a lot. And when they were talking about the girl in the neighborhood that didn't want to get married and wanted to go off to Europe and go traveling, also very not the norm. It's something that's strange because in our culture, you get married relatively early and you don't go off traveling by yourself. Now, I'm not from the Pakistani culture at all, so I can't fully relate to that, but I did grow up going to a masjid with a very large Pakistani population, so I'm quite familiar with it. And also, like, coming from the Middle East, we do have a lot of similar things culture-wise. It's not exactly the same, but it's quite similar. So I can relate to quite a bit of it, even if it's not like 100%. My only complaint, and it's not really a complaint to be fair, it's more just an observation of something that they did that maybe was a little bit... Basically, in this first episode, they followed the stereotypical plotline of a kid wants to go do something and their parents say no because they're strict, but then the kid rebels and does it anyway, and then they come back and they get caught, and then there's this distrust and horrible relationship that is developed, and they have to get past it and move on. We've seen it a ton. It's very, very, very common. I think it's fine for this episode because we have to build that relationship. We have to understand what her family life is like and everything, and that's cool. But it was extremely stereotypical, and like people have done this plotline a lot, so I kind of saw what was coming. It was no surprise that the mom was in the room and she was all like, I don't know who you are anymore. That played out very, very easily in front of our eyes because we've seen it a ton. But that's okay, because there were other elements in this, like her getting superpowers. I don't even fully understand what they are because I'm not familiar with the comic, but I know she can like stretch her arm out and have like a really big hand. So I'm gonna be learning about her powers as she does, which is exciting. This definitely feels a lot more like a Disney Channel show than it does one of the other Marvel shows like Moon Knight or Loki or stuff like that, because this is geared more towards like teenagers and it's got that whole teenage vibe to it. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of the shows that I used to watch growing up as a kid when I watched them on Disney Channel. So I'm actually quite excited. My inner child is very happy with this show. What do you guys think of this first episode? Let me know, especially if you can't relate to the character as much as I can. I feel like I have an extreme bias because I like see my younger self in her so much outside of like the powers, obviously. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are and how you think it holds up against all the other shows we've had so far. I think it's very different. I don't know that you can necessarily compare it. I don't think you can compare any of the shows because they are all very, very different. Some are darker, some are more lighthearted. It's very hard to compare, but I do really like it. I also love how we're starting to include more international music. With Moon Knight, we had Arabic music. With Miss Marvel, we're having Urdu music. I just think the representation and how we're expanding the world is fantastic. I'm a huge fan. That's all I got. I gotta go watch Obi-Wan Kenobi now, and I will see you guys in my next video. Remember to keep it weird and keep it real.